All right. Welcome into the Blurred Wire. Today, it's so exciting whenever we get to do these in person. So today we're going to be reviewing Fantastic Four First Steps, and I'm happy to bring my co-host on live, my little brother Alex. Usually we do the Fixing the Multiverse saga, and we're still doing that. We haven't made an episode in a little bit, but we are still doing it. So don't fall off of it.
He's
Um,
been busy.
Everyone's been busy, man. You know, the economy. I hate to blame everything on the economy, but yeah, I mean, okay. But we just saw Fantastic Four First Steps last night. And at some point you'll see Superman, so we can compare
I
the
will see
two.
Superman.
You will see
People
Superman.
keep telling me to watch Superman. So
It's a good idea. It's a good idea. It's a good idea. So we'll go ahead and break down Fantastic Four First Steps, what we liked about it, maybe even what we didn't like. So let's just dive right in. What are your after? First of all, this will be a spoiler review. We're gonna try to keep it spoiler free for maybe the first 5 minutes,
are we?
but that's not gonna work very well. Do you think you can? Or let's just it's a spoiler review. It's hard to review things without spoilers. So let's just
Yeah.
if you haven't seen it, as much as we want you to listen to us, please go see it
Please
first.
go take the
It's
first
worth it.
steps. Frankly,
I mean, we didn't even script that. I mean, that alone should convince you to go see it. But go see it and then come back and see if you agree with our thoughts on the movie. So again, spoilers, and let's jump right in. What are your initial thoughts that you were thinking and feeling once you left watching Fantastic Four First Steps?
I think that we finally got a Fantastic Four that can be appreciated because for years
Mm-hmm.
we've gotten
Subpar.
attempts at the
Yeah.
Fantastic Four, but it looks like the love was really put into the what the actual characters are because people have really have had thoughts about what the Fantastic Four are for for forever, but like to actually go back and find out what the heart of the actual characters were and to try to put that into a movie. I think we actually finally got that.
And I think when I think about the specific problems about the Fantastic Four movies with 20th Century Fox, to me, those movies were trying to put the Fantastic Four into our existing movie franchise, like movie genres that we already had.
Yeah,
Like they tried to turn the first one into a rom-com, kind of with some of the stupid jokes, Jessica Alba, Invisible Woman, all those, like naked quips and all those things and all those things they were trying to do. Like even Reed Richards at the club dancing with all the women and like all of that, it felt like it belonged in a rom-com. And that was kind of the popular genre in 2004, 2000, early 2000s, and it felt like they were trying to fit the Fantastic Four into that. And then you go to 2015, and it felt like they were trying to fit it into like the gritty action sci-fi movies. And this one felt like a comic book movie. Like if you opened up comic book pages and threw it on the big screen.
yeah, they were making they had their superhero movie style back
Mm-hmm.
then, and you can really see it reflected in each of those Fantastic Four movies. Like it just reflected the era, not actually the characters.
The comic book. And it feels like this one isn't reflecting 2025, it's reflecting 1960s
Yes.
and the era that the Fantastic Four
Yeah,
came from.
that vibe that really came from those Fantastic Four comics was really given in this movie. And spoilers, right? But
Mhm.
it helped that this was their own universe, so they could make the world zany like that, where they couldn't if it was a main Marvel universe.
The
Because
aesthetic, yeah.
yeah, that like what do you neo futurism? I guess not really neo
Retro.
retro. There
Retro.
you go.
It's the Jetsons on screen, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Matt Shackman, he said that he wanted to set Fantastic Four in their own universe because they wanted to avoid the cardinal issue that you now have whenever you introduce a new character of like, oh, why didn't they help with Thanos? Like in Eternals, they were like, why didn't they help with Thanos if they've always been here? And they gave some. It was a very hard to believe explanation of like, oh, we're not supposed to meddle with human affairs, even though we always meddle in human affairs. And it kind of ends up falling apart.
Yeah, in the comics, why doesn't everybody else help with Galactus anyway?
In the comics, they do. That's the
Oh,
whole point. They do
okay,
huge crossover. In the comics, it's very common to do huge crossover.
okay.
So to me, that wasn't the question though that was avoided because if you wanted to avoid the Fantastic Four helping out with Thanos, like that question, you would just say they got their powers after Thanos. Like Reed Richards would have just been a normal guy on Earth before Thanos attacked, and then after he attacked, that's when they went up to space and then had the accident. Like Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, none of them had their powers. None of them helped out with Thanos. They just didn't have their powers yet. But I think the more question is when the Fantastic Four are dealing with these earth-shattering events, the question that is now is like, where are the Avengers? Like in Captain America: Brave New World, where's the rest of the Avengers? Why aren't they helping him out with this conspiracy? Thunderbolts, when the Void attacks New York, where are all the New York heroes when people start turning into shadows? It's kind of a question that you have with like a big expurging universe. And I think that was the question Matt Shackman really didn't want to
Yeah.
have to deal with.
And I mean, to be fair, so Thunderbolts kind of gets to avoid it because they have a quick story. It's easy when it's like this
Hmm.
happens, like, 'cause I think, when he first started shadowing people to when they got him to when they resolved it, it was like an afternoon.
Yeah, it's like by the time you
Yeah.
got there, it's like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
But for the Fantastic Four movie, it's over such a long time scale that, like,
Yeah.
months go by and Galactus is coming. Like, yeah, why didn't we rally the troops?
Specifically in this one, it wouldn't have made the way they chose to do the story, it wouldn't have made sense with the timeline they. So let's break it down because basically the movie starts with them Sue finds out that she's pregnant. And then shortly after that is when
Oh, real quick. So just if you're worried about like, oh, I don't want to see their origin over again. They speedrun the origin.
yeah,
They give it, but they give it so like they understand that these characters. We don't need to rehash who they are, what their powers are. You
mhm.
get it, and they know that you get it.
And they gave us some fantastic scenes. Like there's a scene where Johnny is saving there's a burning building and he goes in and saves it from being on fire by
Yes.
absorbing the
You show
fire.
his actual pyrokinesis instead of just, oh, he shoots fire. Well, he can absorb it too.
Yeah, and the shot looks stunning because you just see him in the middle of the screen.
Yeah.
And I think they did a lot of work on Johnny's special effects, and I'm like, I think they did him first, and then I think the thing
Yeah,
kind
I'd
of got
say.
done
Oh,
after
yeah,
that.
we'll give it up. That's one of the thing CGI is a little rough, and
There are even some.
it's weird because you go back to the '06 one and it's like, oh, this he looks fine
He looks
here.
fine. I think practical effects. People are trading a lot more practical effects for CGI, and I don't know if practical effects are more expensive because it seems like you would do the thing that's least expensive. But again, the thing in most of the CGI and even practical effects of the first Fantastic Four movies were fine. You didn't notice anything.
Yeah.
But in these one, there was a couple of times where I noticed thing, and I'm like, I feel
Whenever,
like 20 years later, we shouldn't be noticing CGI flaws or like it's a better story, better movie, better
yeah,
aesthetic,
but
but we shouldn't be noticing CGI flaws
whenever he
20 years
talked,
later.
it's like his mouth would just do like this.
Yeah.
It's like he can't open it. Also,
It was just
yeah.
it wasn't quite right. So there were some issues there. And like again, people said that Mole Man was going to be in this movie, which I thought was exciting, and like he kind of was. Because the movie opens up, they kind of speed run the origin. They say like, "Oh yeah, they defeated monsters and defeated Mole Man," and they just show us clips of it. We don't actually get to see it happen, and they skip right to Sue finding out that she's pregnant, and the Fantastic Four trying to prepare for that pregnancy, and then Shallabal comes down with like this fiery with this message that the world is going to be destroyed. And from there, it kind of really digs into its own and becomes a spatial adventure. And again, I'm sure CGI budget wise, they could only do so much, but I'm like, when I'm watching the movie, I think we kind of disagree on this a little bit, but like, I'm like, I would rather see them fighting Mole Man or fighting, the monster that came out from underground and seeing some of that teamwork that they've built up than seeing them baby proof the apartment.
Yeah, that's where yeah, because I like the character driven scenes and again, it's because for the most part, we know what they can do, we know what their powers are, but we need to get to like, know and love the family. So I think, and that's something that we haven't really gotten too much from the other Fantastic Four films because, like, especially because Johnny is always antagonistic to
Thing,
to,
Ben.
to Ben. It's always weird between. That's another thing that was good in this movie. That's like it's so weird that they didn't get that. It's always just a little weird between Reed and Sue. Like they never really got like because in this movie, of course, they had their tensions, but we could see that they loved each other. I feel like that was missing from some of the other ones. So seeing them all have that family dynamic, and I like those cute little family building scenes. But Williams, like, I want to see Punchy.
Oh, like I mean, I like the family building scene, but I'm like baby proofing an apartment. To me, that's not
It's
like
cute.
there was a powerful scene between Reed and Johnny. There was a powerful scene between Sue, but I know like in the trailers there was a scene where Sue was like, "Well, Johnny has all," where she said Ben has always been a rock, and Johnny has always been fiery. You just have to be more flexible, kind of like referencing their powers. And I guess that scene didn't make the final cut of the movie because you probably have no idea. He actually didn't see any trailers, which makes it a lot easier to actually enjoy the movie. He didn't know if it was going
Yeah,
to
it
be
was
Doctor
hype.
Doom or
I,
Galactus.
I know the villain. Also, okay, Galactus scenes. Bro's hype. He was a big boy. You felt the scale
You
of
did.
him whenever he like was walking through the town in the mole and they were underground and everything was shaking with every step.
I
Yes,
will say, if you
please.
have seen this movie or haven't seen it yet, you also need to watch the pitch meetings for Rise of the Silver Surfer. because on the pitch meeting channel, because he goes back and he's talking about like, now what would be a really menacing Galactus, and he was like, a cloud, and he's like,
I
really, a
don't
cloud? Let's do a
I don't
cloud.
get why that. Yeah, and that's a big thing with like. I feel like the MCU really misses. Like, you need to, and people love it. I don't know why they like get scared. The wilder side of the comics. That's the point of the comic books. Is because you can do whatever you want in them. People love Guardians of the Galaxy, which is just wild all the time. And then with this new Thunderbolts, how it was, a different kind of story. So seeing like, not just typical bad guy B, but this giant hulking beast that we really have no chance fighting against,
It was
and
mad
having,
Transformers vibes.
yeah, and seeing them have to figure out how to defeat this villain was much appreciated.
And they did have a unique way to defeat the villain, because obviously Galactus, you're not stabbing him in the head, you're not cutting off his head with you're not stabbing him in the chest, you're not cutting off his head with Stormbreaker. Like they don't have so the solution that they found to try and defeat him was very unique.
Yeah.
And I guess there's no point in being like, you got to watch the movie if you want to find out how or if they defeated him, because we did kind of already say this is going to be a spoiler review. But I did like the methodology that they had to come up with in order to try to get that win condition, as we call it, in superhero shows. And I don't like, if this movie had come out in 2005, I don't know if it would have worked. I think people would have found it goofy. I think it took time for us to kind of be eased, for the mainstream to be eased into superheroes, because like comic book fans always were going to go see superhero movies, but the comic book fan base is not enough to support the movie going. You know what I mean? Like, there's not enough comic fans to make a movie a success. If you make a movie that only appeals to comic book fans, you won't end up grossing enough money to cover the budget for the movie. So I think Fantastic Four, again, they were appealing to like some rom-com fans and things like that. Partly why Chris Evans got cast in there. But I think even if I look at everyone who's ever been cast in Fantastic Four in every role, I still think Chris Evans as Human Torch is kind of the king
Yeah.
of casting, because I think he embodied his character more than anyone else in the Fantastic Four ever has embodied a character. He would still be my number one pick for who best played a member of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I'll give it up. I'll give it up. Well, so one thing I will say, so pluses and minuses on the characters. Sue, incredible character. She probably was the best character in the film. And it's because, a lot of the Sues we've gotten in the past is like, hey, look, it's a pretty girl. And like to actually see her have a character and have a character arc and her role in the
Right.
story, being super like vital to the entire story, coming to pass. And the way that they used her powers was incredible, because it wasn't just like, oh, I'm invisible and I have force fields, but like she could make other things invisible. She effectively had telekinesis, because she would project her force fields and push away at people or grab things. I think it was
And they did that a little bit in the Fantastic Four with Jessica Alba when she was playing it. They did a little bit of her more telekinetic abilities with
did she?
pushing things. Yeah, I watched a couple of clips during a couple of fight scenes,
Okay.
and she did actually move some stuff with her force fields.
Okay.
It just wasn't as like, I don't think in this one Sue never made a force field. She just used her force field to
Yeah.
push stuff away or bring it closer, or like really push on stuff.
Uh,
So it ended up being pretty different in
but on
that
the
way.
negative side, I do think that a little, like, I feel like out of all the characters, it's kind of obvious that Thing was like the last one on their mind, because he didn't get that much character work. His CGI was really,
Yeah.
really spotty. And I mean, we've already been through the story of Ben coming to terms with him being, kind of ugly. Uh, there you go, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
For a while. So
yeah.
like we don't need to see that again. But again, it's like they just alluded to it a couple of times. Johnny had a great arc. Sue had a great
Johnny
arc.
did have a great art.
Even Reed had an arc about learning to not always rely on your work and to actually, be with your family. And that's always Reed's biggest issue, even in the comics.
Hmm.
But Thing had like a little girlfriend, kind of. I don't know if I think they said one sentence and then
Natasha Lyonne's character. I think it was supposed to be Alicia Masters, but she wasn't blind. And it feels like there were more scenes with them that got cut.
yeah, that's fair.
Honestly, like I don't see how you
Because I
write
don't.
her and cast her in this movie and for just those two scenes.
He just looked at her a couple times and then he said, "Hey, I want to see you," and then that was it. Like I don't think
Yeah.
they ever like talked before
I
that.
think they actually, I don't know if it was pivotal to the plot,
Yeah.
but I think there were, so if we ever see the deleted scenes, I would bet money that there were maybe two, maybe three scenes of them together that ended up being cut in order to
Yeah,
fit
because I
it
guess
into
I'm
the
saying
runtime.
I don't know why she cares about him in the
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
Because like we don't really see why, like well, and I don't. Besides, like, oh, she's cute. I don't know why he cares about her. Like they didn't have like a relationship
And the
built
sad
up.
part with the Fantastic Four, that's why, like, again, if it was me and I wanted to say, like, what did I want to anchor my movies on? Because with the Fantastic Four being a family, the sad part is like, if you give someone a better storyline, someone else is always going to suffer.
Yeah,
It's not for like for team up movies like Guardians of the Galaxy, X-Men, it doesn't really matter, right? Because they're teams and they're coming together, but it's like you know them as a team. But somehow in the Fantastic Four, they're just so iconic, I guess, that you end up suffering. Like in the first Fantastic Four movies, I think the Thing had a great arc. I think he had great storylines that were developed to him. Who suffered? Sue. Sue doesn't have much to go on.
her arc
Even
is, oh
Human
look,
Torch,
she got naked in public again.
literally, they did the same thing in both movies.
Like, bro.
And it's just like it felt like in the Silver Surfer, they were just like, okay, we need another reason to have Jessica Alba be naked in public again. Let's have them switch powers. It's just it didn't make any sense. So again, Sue suffered in order for Ben to get a good storyline. And now Sue finally gets a good storyline. They even are able to give Johnny a good storyline. And
Johnny,
who suffered? The Thing.
honestly, Johnny and John, I felt more invested in the relationship between Johnny and Surfer than
And that was then Ben and Alicia Masters. Yeah.
it wasn't Alicia Mathers. It was I don't know her name.
They never named her Alicia, but
But
it's
what's the name of
supposed
the
to be.
character? What's the name of
In
the
the
character?
comics,
What's the name of the character in the movie? My point
yeah, we
exactly,
don't know.
friends.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't know for sure. So, and that's why to me, it's like, again, if I was to anchor this timeline with the Fantastic Four, I want one movie for each of them, four movies
That's
that
what
focus on different
the
characters,
obvious
right?
the obvious remedy we can see is just okay, next movie focus a little more on thing.
Right. So like that would be the yeah, exactly. That would be the obvious remedy here. Like even when James Gunn did Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and he focused heavily on Rocket, it didn't feel like we were starving for a good Rocket storyline. You know what I mean? It still felt like it was just kind of like, oh, it's nice. We get a little more of his origins. But Fantastic Four, we were starving for some good stories around Sue Storm and Human Torch. And at least we did get that. So I will say Marvel
Well, because
rectified what we didn't have.
yeah, because I would say I know you love Chris Evans as Johnny, but I think an issue back then was Johnny and Sue were caricatures.
Right.
They were like, oh, this is the pretty girl and this is the bad
The
boy.
pretty, yeah, bad boy. Yeah.
Yeah, and now we have like Johnny is a great character, and built up that whole thing about he's like I don't really
And
feel
I
like I'm
think,
like as smart as them, but then he
right.
had his own arc where he's like, well, look, he learned a language in like a month.
And I think if Joseph Quinn was in this, I think Joseph Quinn did a great job with the storyline, right? But again, if this entire movie was kind of about, was Chris Evans in Johnny's role, and it really focused on him suddenly changing or like wanting to be different because of this silver, like Chris Evans would have killed that
Yeah, of
with
course,
the
for
emotional
sure.
touch and the seeing him
I mean, I
change,
don't know what's his
right?
name, but I mean, I feel like all the actors did a great job. What's his
Pedro
name?
Pascal.
What's
Yeah, I
his
mean,
face
a
name?
lot. I still don't really feel like Pedro Pascal. Like I said, it was a miscast. He's a professional
He
actor.
was
He's
fine.
always going to do a great
He was
job,
fine.
right? So he did a good job as Reed Richards. I'll give him that. But he's just not exactly what you picture. He looks a little too put together, if you ask me.
William see him in too much stuff to see him as a nerd. I haven't seen him as much, so
Right,
I can
right.
I still have the mental capacity
He
to
hasn't seen The
imagine.
Mandalorian. He hasn't seen any scenes from The Last of Us. He didn't see Wonder Woman 1984. And if you saw Wonder Woman 1984,
I saw clips.
you saw
I
clips.
haven't seen the movie all the way through, but I saw clips. I
You
know
know,
the
did
story.
you see him playing Maxwell Lord?
Not a whole lot.
Yeah, and yet that's good. We won't make you go through that. So we won't subject you to
I
that.
saw that she
Um,
was like dating her boyfriend through another guy.
oh God, let's not talk about that.
Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's been in almost like every major franchise now. And it's so funny. He literally has like three movies out right now. Like you can see The Materialist with Pedro Pascal. I think something Paddington 2 or something like that with him in it. And then or you could see Fantastic Four. The man is working. The man
I
is a
will say,
workaholic.
I think they did Reed's character a lot because again, it's like they were looking towards the comics, not just looking towards, it's really easy to see in the movies that they're like, hey, this is just like a sciencey guy, and that's all they had to go off of because they had that weird scene where he was like hooking up with girls in the club, and then that's why Sue was
Right.
mad at him. Where it's so easy if you just look at the comics, he's always just so into his studies, like that's all he ever does, and the conflict is free. He's too busy with doing science to actually be with his family. And they were able to really make use, especially that now that he has a baby, and he's like, well, is this baby? He did all those scans over the baby, and Sue's like, just be in the moment, and that was something hard for him to do, for him to actually learn that. Was I feel like that's a much more fitting arc for Reed than, hey, why are you with these why are you in a club with strippers? That's like a
Yeah, it was weird. And I like to me, and I think what would have hit a little bit harder is if while they were baby proofing the apartment, if Reed was stuck working on something else that had nothing to do with it, right? Like he was helping the baby, but to me
yeah.
that would
They
have
could have pushed a little more where she
that
like
would
didn't
have
help at all.
right, right.
Yeah,
If he wasn't scanning the baby, like if he was like, oh no, but I got to figure out this, what if this tidal wave is going to cause a earthquake in Hiroshima? You know what I mean? That would have kind of helped with that a little bit. But either way, it was still a very solid film. I think overall, I would say Marvel gave us what we needed from the Fantastic Four.
yes, for sure. That's
And
that's that's
yes,
that's a way to put it. It's not ground breaking, but for a Fantastic Four movie, it was definitely like no, it didn't blow my mind, but it was good. And for a
mhm.
Fantastic Four movie, that's a high
And I think they did the right.
that's what we're looking for.
And I kind of like how, like in the first Fantastic Four, the way Silver Surfer, like, turns on Galactus and the rise of the Silver Surfer. I kind of like the way that they got Silver Surfer to turn on Galactus in
Yeah,
this one.
that's
Because
true.
we knew it was going to happen, right? Like, that's the comic thing. Even if you didn't know who the villain was, once you see Silver Surfer and you know Galactus is coming, you know that Silver Surfer is going to turn on him. But they did it, it felt a lot more earned in this one. And we got to see a lot more of the destructive capabilities of Silver Surfer. So overall, I think it was and I think that scene that Sue had in front of all those people was a very powerful
Very
scene.
powerful scene.
And I mean, I will like this quote again. There are some moments, but like the quote that's going to live with me for this movie is, "I will not sacrifice this world for my baby, but I will not sacrifice my baby for this world." Is that how she said it? I will not
Right.
sacrifice
She said, "I will not
my
sacrifice my
baby to
baby for
save
the
this
world,
world.
but I will not sacrifice this world to save my baby."
Yeah, I will not sacrifice my baby to save this world, but I will not sacrifice this world to save my baby. So I think that was a pretty powerful. I think Vanessa Kirby probably had the best performance. That's who played Sue. And I know the actress. He
I'm
knows the
not much
movie.
of an
Yeah.
actor person.
And I was expecting that from Vanessa Kirby, so that wasn't really hard to imagine. So I think that just about wraps it up. Did you have any other thoughts that you wanted to add about it that we didn't really cover?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, pretty much it. Yeah. So overall, still a great movie. Make sure you go see it. I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. Let us know your thoughts though down below. If you've seen it, what did you think? Did you like it? Do you think it's a good direction? Obviously, there's a post-credit scene. Obviously, we won't. I think it was the right call the way they did it. I don't want to reveal it, but again, this is kind of a spoiler review.
Leave it. Leave it.
Leave
Leave
it.
some
Okay.
spice. Leave some
Okay.
spice.
If you've seen the post-credit scene, let me know your thoughts about it, and I'll respond to you about it. We'll do it like that.
And if you haven't seen the post credit scene, don't go in the comments.
And we didn't tell you how or if Galactus gets defeated. So yeah, that's another reason to go
Yeah, no, he
check
doesn't.
out
He
the movie.
actually won in real life, and we're all gonna die. He's gonna eat Earth.
He just told me yesterday,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
So tell that girl you like her that you like her.
Hey, you don't have very long. Thank you guys for joining the Blurred Wire. Until next time.